Boom! Welcome into Sportsbet. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. Tuesday, July 18th, big game breakdown. The Brewers make an appearance. Sure, first place, 100-1 to win the division in Vegas. Big time sweat for the bookmakers out here. They take on the Pirates. And how about a $3 favorite on the road? You see it tonight. We'll get to the Dodgers and the White Sox deep dive. We finish out the AFC South with the Titans. Bad beats bad bets, bad for the books in a second. Let's start with the big news in the NFL. Ezekiel Elliott under investigation. Adam Schefter and others reporting could be a 1 to 2 game suspension. Then he goes out Sunday night to a bar in Dallas, allegedly breaks a guy's nose. I mean, and then the bookmakers don't know what to do, Teddy. What do you do with the week 1 line? What do you do with the win totals? If he's out 4 games, they open with the, our buddy Tripp pointed this out, although, good job, Tripp, but they open up with the Giants at home, then they go to Denver and Arizona. If they don't have this guy, good luck with Darren McFadden.
What are you talking about? Elliott's worth nothing in the point spread in my mind.
Oh, bullshit. That's crazy. Elliott, Johnson, and Bell are the only... Those guys are worth something.
The offensive line is worth something. The running back himself is worth next to nothing. Maybe, again, you're talking about what my adjustment would be. I'm not saying what the market adjustment would be. My adjustment for Ezekiel Elliott being out is half a point at the most. At the most. That's just me. But markets love the names, the fantasy guys, the guys that get the highlights. What makes any running back good in Dallas is the best offensive line in football. And the Cowboys still have the best offensive line in football. You put anyone running behind that line, they'll be fine. And what's the latest news? An alleged, a maybe, a 1-game suspension, maybe even a 4-game suspension. How much is that worth for the Cowboys season win-wise? A quarter of a win? Maybe? I don't think it's worth a whole lot, but I'm convinced that if he is out, the markets will overreact to that absence.
All right, well, good luck when McFadden pulls a hammy in week 1. Forget about that. You agree that Bell and Johnson are worth something, don't you? Come on, don't lose your mind here.
Again, Bell last year in Pittsburgh. Well, let's see, he missed, the first 3 games, and Jangelo Williams put up the exact same numbers that Bell did. No, I don't think he's worth all that. I really don't. Again, half point for a running back. There's a reason that the running backs are the ones that are getting cut. There's a reason that the running backs are the ones that aren't lasting past their 27th or 28th birthday in the NFL. There's a reason that NFL teams aren't giving the big fat contracts to running backs anymore the way they were a decade ago, and that's because it's not that big of a drop-off between an elite running back and a good running back when they're playing behind an elite offensive line.
How about Carolina? 9 days before the start of camp, they fire their GM.
That was a weird move. And it had to be a personality. Every quote about Dave Gettleman for the Panthers is that this guy's a prick, this guy's tough to deal with, and of course, so is the owner. Jerry Richardson supposedly is not the easiest guy in the world to deal with either. Quote, "After much thought and a long evaluation of our football operations, I have decided to relieve Dave Gettleman of his duties as general manager. I want to thank Dave for the role he played in our success over the last 4 seasons. While the timing of this decision is not ideal, a change is needed." Well, it's a personality conflict. It's a personality conflict. That's the only thing it could possibly be to see a GM fired, a couple of days, a week before the start of training camp.
Well, it doesn't end there. You see the players taking shots at him. They also don't have a team president either.
No, the Panthers, without a team president, Danny Morrison resigned in February. Again, the guy's resigning. Is it an ownership issue? The former assistant GM, their number 2, Brandon Beane, he left in May to become the Bills general manager. So now we have no GM, no assistant GM, no team president, and you get great tweets like this one from Jangelo Williams. "I want to publicly say the Panthers is off my list of teams I won't play for due to the firing of that snake, Dave Gettleman." And he wasn't the only former Carolina veteran that ripped their ex-GM. But it's an awkward situation in Carolina now moving forward. And you don't want to see these type of situations happening, again, the week before training camps are set to begin.
Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. A tough push. Cardinals-Mets total was 9. It fell 9. Game was sitting on 9 with 1 out in the bottom of the 6th. Come on.
Yeah, the both starters already out of the game. The Cardinals bullpen certainly had their fair share of meltdowns. Nothing the rest of the way. You hate that when you get to the 9 and the 6th and nothing thereafter, but that's what overbettors had to deal with last night. Tough push for those who had the over.
Bad bet. Nats Reds over 9, bet up to 9.5. Nats got 5 in the first, but Strasburg was on.
Oh, yeah. Scott Feldman lit up in that ballgame. Strasburg Would he end up striking out 11 of the 25 batters that he faced? I was shocked to see a Steven Strasburg game bet up to 9.5, and it was obviously a bad bet for the wise guys who made that that move with their wagers.
All right, a lot of bad for the books. How about a 40-cent move on the Tigers, plus $1.50? Went off plus $1.10. They knew something the markets didn't trust Vargas.
No, they certainly didn't. Again, the Sharps were never believers. When Vargas opened 12-3 with a 2.22 ERA, he made the AL All-Star team. There was money coming against him fairly consistently. And there's been big money against him each of his last 2 starts, and Vargas got pounded twice. 7.2 innings of work, 12 runs allowed, 5 dingers in those 2 starts given up by Jason Vargas. His ERA has jumped from 2.22 to 3.06 in the matter of a little bit more than a week. That was not a good result for the house. And there are multiple bookmakers that you could talk to in Vegas and offshore that'll tell you that was the worst game of the night for the books.
Twins, too. Finally, the Yankees didn't take any money. Twins took some money. They went off the favorite, and they beat the Yankees again.
Yeah, Twins opened as dogs and closed as chalks, and I think the books might have been expecting some of that Yankee money, but Maya's a guy who the markets seem to like already. If you want him in his next start, you want to get to the window early rather than late. Minnesota takes the money and gets the money. Not a good result for the house.
Big game breakdown up next. The Brewers and the Pirates, and Kershaw laying $3 on the road. They've won his last 13 starts. You won't believe the numbers on Kershaw and the Dodgers coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Time for Big Game Breakdown. As always, sponsored by BetOnline. More than just an online betting site, much more. They built their reputation by focusing on what bettors want, exceptional customer service, strong promotions, and every possible type of wager players are looking for. Check out the bonus page, sportsbookreview.com, for the latest and best offers to open a new account today. Get up there, and thanks to BetOnline. It's the Brewers. How about this? Yes, Brewers against the Pirates, Guerra against Nova. Pirates $1.49, the total over -120. Bookmakers with a huge sweat here in Las Vegas, as the Brewers are 100 to 1 to win the division, and a lot of people from Wisconsin came in and bet the Brewers, so they have to sweat that out, even though the Cubs are playing good ball. I definitely think they're contenders, Teddy.
Well, on the one level, they certainly played like contenders over the first half of the campaign, and here we are post-All-Star break. We're talking about a team that's 9 games over 500, and they have a 4-game lead over the Cubs in that NL Central Division. And, of course, when you have 100-1 odds to win the division at a couple of books, they better be sweating when it comes to late July, and the team's got a 4-game lead in the division. But when you start to look at some of the stats for the Brewers, you say, yeah, maybe this team is a team that has overachieved more than a little bit over the first half of the campaign. The stats look more like pretender than contender. Look at this, the graphic for Milwaukee batting so far this season. Yeah, they're number 17th in batting average, number 18th in OBP. They're not exactly lighting up the base pass. You look at the pitching stats here, and again, middle of the pack when it comes to FIP and XFIP, the fielding independent pitching, and the adjusted fielding independent pitching. The ERA and the slugging percentage, both higher than the rest of the stats might expect. Therefore, we have to think on some level that Milwaukee primed to move down in the standings rather than primed to move up.
Guerra's back after 11 days off. I wonder if that helps or hurts. His last 3 starts, 11 innings pitched, 14 runs, 18 hits. What do you think, Teddy? I know the FIP, the fielding independent pitching, doesn't like him.
No, it certainly doesn't. He's pitched 49 innings so far this season. 155 pitchers have worked at least 49 innings so far this season. And yep, he ranks 154th out of the 155 pitchers. So certainly the markets aren't sleeping on these type of advanced metric numbers from Junior Guerra, and they've never liked, the market has certainly never liked Junior Guerra at any point in his big league career. They didn't like him last year. They don't like him this year. And you look at the current form, where he's just been lit up each of the last 3 starts. His control's been bad. He's been vulnerable to the gopher ball. 9 walks and 6 home runs allowed over the last 3 starts. We're talking about a guy who, A, suspect at best, B, the advanced metrics hate him, and C, 11 days off, I don't know if it helps a guy who's been in as lousy current form as Junior Guerra was in before the All-Star break.
Pirates, I guess you could still say, in the hunt, and Marte coming back from suspension, hit .333 and 9 rehab starts. Here's Hurdle, quote, he has a spark right away. If he has a spark right away, maybe we can ride it. If he's challenged for a few games, we need to back away. We're going to assess as we go day by day, end quote. Nova, one of the few Pirates to perform above expectations, 9-6 with a 3.21. And look at this year, the walks per 9 leaders. Samardzija 1, Tomlin, there's Nova sitting there at number 3, and the FIP calls Nova 4.12 because of the low strikeouts, but they've undervalued him. The markets haven't respected this guy, both this year and in past years. Brewers bats cold as well. What do you think of the, we'll use this later on, Teddy, but what do you think of the bullpen and what the Pirates could do if they have the lead late?
Well, the whole thing is that, Felipe Rivero wasn't made the closer until, July? The Pirates might be a whole lot better. They had so many problems closing out games over the first couple of months of the season and playing bullpen roulette. Rivero's ERA down to 0.72 for the full season. And you look at him in July, 6 games, 1 win, 4 saves. He's only given up 2 hits while striking out 11 in 7 innings, or more than 7 innings of work this month. He makes Pittsburgh a heck of a lot better. And, you look at Milwaukee, this is a team that will face the 3rd toughest remaining schedule in the National League, behind Arizona and San Diego when it comes to current winning percentage. They've still got 10 games left against the Dodgers and the Nets, and that compares to only 3 for the Chicago Cubs against those 2 teams. And it's a squad that is ice cold with the bats right now. 3 runs or less each of their last 3 ball games. Yeah, we'll talk about this game again when it comes to play of the day time.
Game number 2, live odds, Bet Online, powered by Bet Online. Look at this. Mercy. Dodgers $3 on the road. 8.5 the total. It's Kershaw against Gonzalez. You're not going to get any White Sox money in this one, I can tell you that. And where does this run go down in MLB history? The Dodgers are 29-4 in their last 33. They're plus 89 runs. 16 of the 33 games they didn't bat in the 9th. Look at the Dodgers and Kershaw. Where does this go down in history? 13 straight wins when he's been on the mound. 17-2 this year. 34-6 the last 2 years. And 41-7 the last 48 regular season starts. But you could say he's the 3rd most effective pitcher on his own team. When you look at ERA and FIP, Jansen, Wood, and there's Kershaw behind those 2 guys. Wood's 11-0 with a 1.56. It's all Kershaw talk.
It's insane what the Dodgers are doing right now. This is an epic run. This is a run that deserves to be talked about as the ones that you think about 10 and 20 years from now down the line. Wow, look what that team did. Remember what the Rockies did when they went on their run to win, to reach the World Series before they lost to Boston, when they win like 20 straight games or whatever it was. This Dodgers run is kind of like that. They're killing everybody. And Kershaw, the Dodgers, 41-7 the last 48 regular season starts, and he's not even their best pitcher. Throw that graphic up there again. You've got Jansen with the better ERA and FIP. You've got Wood with the better ERA and FIP. Kershaw's number 3 on that staff right now. And the Dodgers so comfortable. They're leading the division, even though both wild card teams right now would come out of the NL West, and both of them have substantial leads. The lead for LA at the top of that division is so comfortable that Dave Roberts skipped Kershaw through the Miami series. So he's had more than a full week off. And this is a team that can now pace their rotation very carefully the rest of the way. Dodgers not in position where they're going to have to eke out wins between now and September. Everything they do here is position themselves for postseason success. That's not a luxury they've had in most recent seasons.
And then the White Sox are in full tear it down and rebuild mode. They're chopping Frazier and Robertson as well. So, they know they're playing for the future, thinking 3-4 years down the road. What do you think of Gonzalez?
Well, I mean, he has been one of the most consistent pitchers in baseball. Let's give him credit for that. But, of course, it's been consistently bad. Look at the numbers right here. Great graphic. The ERA, the fielding independent pitching, the adjusted fielding independent pitching, and the Sierra all have him in a very narrow range, all of which is pretty lousy. Now, he's coming off the DL after a shoulder injury. His last start was on June 14th. He threw 9 innings over 2 rehab starts at AA and AAA, but he's certainly not a guy I'm excited about backing. When you're talking about this White Sox team, and look, Rick Renteria is in a real squeeze because there's no question. You talk about Todd Frazier, David Robertson. maybe their two best veterans on the squad, or two of their best veterans on the squad right now. They're clearly sellers right now. And I think management's done a pretty good job of trading veterans for the prospect, but Renteria is not going to be here by the time the prospects are ready for the major league level. And of course, we're talking about a White Sox team that is, you want to talk negative momentum? They have a ton of negative momentum right now. They went into the break, they got shut out 10-0 at Colorado. They came out of the break, they got swept at home by a sub-500 Mariners squad over the weekend. And let's not forget, they had a 5-0 lead on Sunday, and they blew it, and then they rallied back to tie, and they lost it in extra. That's a real buzzkill for a team headed south rather quickly these days. And let's not forget, you talked about this line being $3. I'm with you. I can't anticipate any White Sox money here. $3 may not be high enough. If you like the Dodgers, I bet them sooner rather than later.
What's the highest you've seen on the road?
Sheesh, I'd have to think about that, because you don't think about home road. This is about as high as it gets. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see higher. This game could close 350. I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, this ship has sailed because they're so good, but Jimmy Vaccaro at the South Point and Veasan throughout the scenario, if they're playing the Padres at home and the Dodgers have to win, you might see $5 if it's Kershaw. Unbelievable. We close out the AFC South up next with the Tennessee Titans. We both like this team. Coming up on SportsBit, Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Wrapping up on SportsBit, Betting Insight today, Brady Cannon on tomorrow's show to preview the British Open. We'll finish out the AFC South here with the Titans in a second. First, you're going to Costa Rica, Teddy. Hey, catch out Teddy with this conference on football.
Oh, it should be a lot of fun. And fun is not the key thing. The key here is learning, growing, building networks among other savvy people. Heck, check it out. Go to the website, www.ifbc.live. It stands for International Football Betting Conference. We're talking about the Sheraton in San Jose, Costa Rica, August 4th and 5th. Space is filling up fast, so you got to check it out now. Where me, Gil Alexander, Clay Travis, Matthew Holt, Gabe Morency, Mark Lawrence, Ed Fang, Drew Martin. The list of contributors keeps growing and growing. Check out the website again, www.ifbc.live for your chance to come down to Costa Rica August 4th and 5th. We'll hang out.
All right, here we go. Tennessee Titans win total 8.5 over -135 last year. 9-7 straight up, 7-9 ATS, 10-5 to the over. Mainstream stats: 18 takeaways, 18 giveaways. Offense: 5.7 yards per play, 10th. 4.6 yards per rush, 4th. They're playing old school football there with run the ball with Murray and Henry. 7.4 yards per pass attempt, slightly above average. 28 sacks allowed. The defense: 5.5 yards per play allowed, right at the average. 88.3 QB rating allowed, average 40 sacks. That's in the top quartile there. Now listen, the top needs going in, wide receiver. Give Mariota some weapons. Now I know it was taking him high, but I love Corey Davis out of Western Michigan. They also took Adoree Jackson, the DB out of Southern Cal. Mariota's only going to get better. He had a terrific season last year. I'm high on this team. What did you think about what they did in the offseason?
Well, let me start with some of the stats that you went through, because we kind of brushed through some of those real quick. When you're talking about 18 takeaways for a season, that's what they had last year. They had only 18 giveaways. That's better than average. Mariota's been great in the red zone. We know about it. He doesn't make mistakes there. 18 takeaways, that's bottom quartile in the NFL. They finished with a turnover margin of 0, despite the fact that they basically didn't turn the ball over a whole lot. That's one area where they really wanted to improve. Last year, they didn't have a single receiver gain more than 1,000 yards. But when you're talking about bringing in Corey Davis not the only guy they brought in. I mean, Mariota must have watched the draft like a guy with a winning lottery ticket, because it's Corey Davis. They bring in Taywan Taylor, the wide receiver out of Western Kentucky. If you watched him play at the collegiate level, this guy was a man among boys. And, of course, the tight end, Jonnu Smith out of Florida International, another guy who can contribute, in theory, right away. This is going to give Tennessee more options besides here, DeMarco, DeMarco left, DeMarco right, DeMarco through the hole. So I certainly like what they did in the draft. And, of course, Mariota's a guy, 45 TDs to 19 INTs. He's been dynamite in the red zone, finishing the top 10 in red zone efficiency and completion percentage each of his first 2 seasons. But You look at the squad, what did they need more than anything? They might have needed defense more than offense. Although, when you look at the other teams in the division, Houston's got one of the elite defenses. The Jacksonville Jaguars, a team we talked about on yesterday's Sports Bit, has a vastly improved and potentially elite defense. And the new Colts GM, Chris Ballard, spent the whole offseason trying to work on Indy's defense. So all three teams in the division have kind of emphasized defense this past offseason. Tennessee emphasized a little more on the offensive end.
Yeah, so 10-5-1 to the over. They have a great offensive line, the exotic smash mouth with Henry and Murray, as we talked about earlier. Now you get more weapons from Mariota. Pretty good coaching staff as well. You want to touch on the schedule, or anything you want to add?
Sure. Well, let's talk about the offensive line. I mean, when you talk about the dominant tackles in football, Taylor Lewin and Jack Conklin, that is an elite duo of tackles that will allow Mariota, in theory, enough time to find some of these young receivers. On the defensive end, what'd they do? They signed the cornerback Logan Ryan as a starter. They signed the defensive tackle Sylvester Williams, and of course the safety Jonathan Cyprien. That's three guys who should make that defense better. And we're talking about a defense that had hope last year. They were ranked number 1 overall in preventing in short yardage defense. Conversion rate is just 45% on third, fourth down, or the goal line with less than 2 yards to go. So there's hope for that defense, but I don't know if there's any hope for this team if Mariota gets hurt. Do you see who their backup quarterback is?
Still Castle?
Yeah, they gave him a 2-year, $5.3 million deal to stick around. And, I mean, he's not effective in any scheme. And the thing that baffles me, he can't even remotely act like Mariota on the field. If you have a backup for this type of offense, which is fairly unique, I would think that you want a QB that can run it. Mariota's health of primary concern for the Tennessee Titans in 2017.
He got hurt in that Week 16 game, right? Against Jacksonville, and then Castle came in and was throwing pick sixes?
Yes, and the reports on Mariota is still recovering, still not 100%. So he's someone who you definitely want to watch and read about over the course of the next month or so. Be confident that he's going to be fully healthy from day one and stay healthy if you're betting the Tennessee Titans over their win total. All
right, strength of schedule. Last year, one of the easiest in the league. This year, still easier than average. If they face the NFC West and the AFC North, 2 extra games. Tough, though. Week 1, hell of a game. They play the Raiders at home, and then they go at Miami to take on the Dolphins. So you mentioned, as we can just recap the entire division here, but you mentioned how you like every team in this division. You got the news with Luck, though. Who knows if he's healthy and when he's going to start throwing. Jacksonville at 6.5, Tennessee at 8.5. You got Houston there right around the similar win total. What do you think?
I think that the value of all the value, Tennessee's a hot team in the markets already. Houston, not so much because everyone thinks that they're going to have QB questions, which they may or may not. Indy, not so hot in the betting markets because there have been so many concerns about how that roster's been put together. I have to tell you, I like the Jaguars, and I have to put I think that from a value standpoint, Jacksonville to win the division, Jacksonville over the 6.5, that stands out to me a little bit more than Tennessee. I'm very bullish on the Titans, and this Titans team has the potential to be not just good. They got the potential to be really good, but people are talking about Tennessee in a way that some of the other teams in the division, they're not. But again, when you live in Vegas, sometimes you get a skewed perspective on what people out in the real world are doing. I think this Tennessee Titan team has definitely potential to make people some money this year. I just don't think they're necessarily the number 1 moneymaker in this division.
I like them too. I like the Texans as well because they had so many turnovers with Osweiler, and they still won the division. Nasty defense. They have weapons. I know it's savage. Maybe Watson will be the quarterback later on, and O'Brien calling the plays with that outfit. Money time. Play of the day. Let's go. But you saw the numbers, right? Markets don't respect Nova, and Guerra's had issues here, and he had 11 days off. Let's lay the $1.40. Betting number 952 with the Pirates. That is the play of the day. Tomorrow, a lot of MLB, obviously, and we'll kick around big game breakdown. Good schedule coming up. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Could be some NFL news as well. And Brady Cannon. We'll fire the cannon to preview the British Open. Tell your friends we're back. Sports Bit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com. Hall of Fame game August 3rd, right around the corner.